Hello everybody! Today I'm going to do a single page layout using these photos of my daughter when she was just a baby, and I just think it is hilarious how she was staring at this snowman. We were at a party for my husband's work and they had this decoration out on the counter and she was like, "Ooh, he's my size," and like was staring him down. It was so funny. I had these printed a long time ago, so they're a little bit off color. It was before I did much editing, but I do think that that kind of like warm color in the background will look really good with a shortbread that's in this collection. This is the Love Notes collection. It's a special from close to my heart, and even though this is Christmas, I am going to use a Valentine's pack. So this is the sticker sheet, and I may pull in some of them. You can kind of see how it's Christmas colors. You've got the green and then the red and then some other kind of neutral-ish colors that could work for Valentine's or Christmas. So I may use some of the stickers, but mostly I was really inspired by this sheet here. I just think that this screams Christmas to me, and I think it's so pretty. The other sheet that I could use is this one, and I don't think I'm going to use this one, but look at how good that would look as well. So this is a close-up look at the patterns. Again, a lot of these are very Valentine's themed. This one is super cute with those little teddy bears. This one is really nice with the writing and some icons. It's a nice neutral pattern. We've got the dark Scarlet with the hearts, which definitely is Valentine, but can be used anytime. We always use hearts, right? And then the peach with the polka dots. And then of course these two that I already showed you. And then there's really cute zip strips too. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using this zip strip right here. For my layout, I was inspired by this sketch here in the Creative Design Team's new 12 by 12 sketchbook. So you can see you have a thicker strip here, a little bit thinner strip here, and a thinner strip here. So I'm going to be building up like this, and then we have our two photos and some flower clustering down here. Now in the sketchbook, we show, stars and flowers and stuff like that as embellishments. You don't have to use flowers. You can use whatever you want, but I am going to select my papers based on this sketch here. So I knew I wanted some more neutrals, so I pulled these papers in as well. We have some black in the photo, so I think I'm going to accent just a little bit with the black. I think maybe mattes. I'm going to build it on a white base page because I'm going to be using this pattern, which I know is really busy and heavy, so I want to build everything on the white base. And then I pulled in this gray. This is from, I want to say, the Christmas Story, or maybe I think it was the Home for Christmas scrapbooking kit from this past Christmas release, but it's kind of got this like stone or concrete look to it. There's a little bit of texture on there, and I thought that would be a nice way to bring in the gray. And if you look at this little snowman, he's got kind of like that gray textured look to him. So I thought that this might be fun in there. So let me get this stuff out of the way and I will start building the layout. I'm going to bring my Versamat in here to make sure that I get everything lined up since we're doing long strips across. And I've already built my frame style layout. It's going to be hard to see that frame black on black, but this was not called for in the sketch, but I really thought that having this black mat all the way around will help ground everything and draw your eye to the center, since I won't really have black in the paper, but I'm pretty sure I'll have black in my mats. Now the first thing I want to do is trim this photo down because I have a lot of extra space up here. So I'll just get out my little handy dandy trimmer here and trim, maybe a 1/4 inch above her head, and then I'll trim off some of the side as well. I think that looks pretty good, so maybe a little from the bottom. So it's going to be bigger than 3 by 4, but smaller than 4 by 6. And then your eye is drawn straight to the subject and we don't have all this extra space. And I think it looks kind of nice having 2 different size photos. I have these photo place cards from when I get the scrapbooking kits. They come with these, and I usually save them to use as white mats because I almost always put a white mat around my photos. So since this is a true 4 by 6, I can't use the 4 by 6 photo placeholder because it's the same size. So I'm going to mount this on the 5 by 7 and then just trim off a little bit. And then this background, I gutted that back, and that way I can use this for the mats for my photo. So go ahead and get my photos matted. My photos are now double matted. I like the white around the photo to make it pop, and then we've got the black to bring in the black that's also around the frame. And now I'm deciding on my paper. I think I want it like this. I typically like the darkest color on the bottom to help ground the layout, and then my flower cluster will go there in the middle. So I'm going to get these all cut down. And then to further the black theme, and also just to give some differentiation and separation between the papers, I'm going to ink a little bit of black around all the papers. You can't really see it on the dark red in the camera, but I know it's there, so I thought I would show you how it looks here. You can really tell that difference on this lighter color paper. So I'm going to go ahead and get all of these sponged around the edges, and then we'll be back. Now everything is glued in place, and I think it has a nice finished look. I'm going to bring in some poinsettias for my flower cluster, and this stamp set is a workhorse in my craft room. It is the Comfort and Joy stamp and die set from several years ago. It's no longer available, I'm sorry, but you could use Cricut cuts or any other die set that you already have. I'm using a new sponge dauber for the Evergreen, and I just wanted to show you that I use my gold paint pen to write the color on my sponge dauber. If you really rub it, it'll probably come off, but I don't typically touch that part, so it's going to be fine. And I'm using the sponge dauber so that I can get a two-tone look from this stamp. I think I want this as my title, although at this point I'm not totally sure. But I'm going to try it out, and I just want that little sprig that is coming out to be green, and the Evergreen is the green that is in this collection, even though it's not listed as one of the featured colors. And I sponged it on so that I can get only the part that I want, and I have it in my MISTI because usually when I sponge onto the stamp, I do need to get a couple of impressions. And then for the rest of that title, I'm going to use Archival Black. You could use Intense Black or just the regular black. I typically use Archival Black for sentiments and things because it is the most dark, vivid black. And I did end up just going ink pad to stamp because I had a bigger surface to cover, but I went over the whole thing with my sponge dauber just to make sure that it all has the same kind of texture to it. And I'm going to give a couple more coats to this little M right here because that didn't get as good of an impression as the rest of the stamp. And I'm going to give it one more pass with the ink. That little spot is being a little bit stubborn, and I'm just making sure to wipe off any color from the area that I don't want. So let's go ahead and peel this off. I did use a little bit of tape runner on the back to hold it down, and also I have this waffle flower mat in my MISTI, and I have been loving it. It's made out of the same material as stamps, but it just helps so you don't have to use the magnet in the MISTI as often or tape things down. I did just for this because it is a small piece and can't fit in the corner. Now I want to add a little bit of dimension to my flowers. So I'm taking an ink pad and a blending brush, and better add a piece of my Tim Holtz Media Mat under there. That helps my ink pad to not slide around when I'm doing this. And I'm just going around the tips of the flowers to add a little bit of dimension. You can see the difference here. Now, one thing I always forget when I do this is that when you do ink blending or stamping for that matter, the ink always dries quite a bit lighter than it first shows up. So I wish that I would have gone on darker with the inking, but you can still see it in the end. It's just not quite as obvious as it is here. So just keep that in mind if you're wanting to add dimension like this. I'm working on a little piece of my all-purpose mat. I have one all-purpose mat that I kept really big, and then I have another one that I cut down into half and then cut one half into quarters, so I have little small pieces to use. Now I've got all my flowers inked, and I also cut some of these little sprigs out of Evergreen glitter paper. So those are going to add some nice shine to my little cluster. I don't think the Evergreen glitter paper is available anymore, but there is pine, which is also really pretty. And then I'm going to take my thumb and fingers, and I'm just curling the little petals on my flowers and my leaves to give them a little bit of dimension. I just use one of the poinsettia dies in the green for the leaves, and that will just be the bottom layer, and it looks just like leaves sticking out. And then I think the sprigs sticking out also are going to be a nice addition. So I'm going to use a little bit of liquid glue to glue each of the layers together. There's one piece that has skinnier petals and one that has thicker petals, and I like the thicker petals on top. And then I cut the green out of both dies, so some of them have thinner petals on the bottom and some of them have thicker. So I'm just going to do this for all of the petals, and I'm going to scatter them around the base of my photos. Once I got the flowers arranged in an order that I liked on the bottom, I decided to add one up at the top as well near the title to kind of fill in that gap. And now I get to start placing the glitter. So I'm putting them here and there, trying to spread them evenly. First, I put one sprig with each flower and try to have them pointed in different directions so that it looks really random. And then I'll come back and kind of tweak them. And I end up adding some just plain evergreen cardstock sprigs later as well. Up at the top, I already have that one green sprig that's in the title, so I just wanted to add a couple more coming out this way from that flower. I think that looks pretty good. I spotted a few stickers on the sticker sheet that I thought would work. There's this one that says cutie, and I thought that would create a nice visual triangle with the two peach flowers and then bring a little more peach up there. And then there's that little circle that says love. And then I also found a few little hearts, and I wanted to bring in a little bit more of the candy apple and the scarlet. So I have each of those kind of reds and peaches up in that little cluster there. Then I decided I wanted to have scarlet instead of the candy apple up at the top because there's more scarlet in that base page. I think that it helps to draw that color up at the top. But then the scarlet that was in this little cluster here, it was kind of like stacked on top of each other. So I rearranged the order of the flowers so that the scarlet is more at a diagonal. I like how that looks, but I feel like I need a little more scarlet up here to create a stronger visual triangle. I do have the hearts, but I think I need a little something else. I found this circle on the sticker sheet as well, and I didn't like it up high because then it was just directly across from that poinsettia on the top. So I'm trying to kind of rearrange things and put that down underneath at the bottom of my little cluster. I need to take the stick off of the sticker just so I can test it out and not have to commit because these are pretty sticky stickers and I'm not quite sure yet. So I'm thinking right about here it can kind of be the base of my cluster, get everything back in place, and I think I do like that addition. Now, just when I had everything right where I wanted it, I decided I need some splatters. I'm sure some of you were waiting for it, but that's okay. I took a picture so that I remember where everything goes, and I'm just gonna scooch everything down a little bit, cover it up, and just do some splatters at the top. I'm gonna bring in my half sheet of an all-purpose mat and cover the corner and get a little bit of this black shimmer brush going just to kind of further that black accent theme that I have going. And I'll twist this to make sure I'm over the all-purpose mat and get a little bit more splatter up there, just a little bit, just so that it's not so plain. I used some thin 3D foam tape on my title to give it a little dimension, and because there's some dimension on that flower already, I used just some glue over where it's going to overlap there. And I'm liking that title right there. I wasn't sure about it at first. Now, before I address my flower centers, I thought that I needed to add a little snowman because of the snowman in the picture is part of the subject. So I found this little snowman that has a top hat and looks really cute in the Gnomes for Winter stamp set. And I'm just going to do some really quick coloring. I found that mixing the Jade green shades and the Alpine green blend, the darkest colors of those, match the Evergreen color pretty well. So I have those out and I'm making my little hat black, or really dark gray, with the ice gray shades. For the red, I'm using mostly the dark red shades with just a hint of the dark red blend. Again, I'm doing really quick coloring. I'm just kind of adding the darkest color from each marker around the outside or on one side and then blending out to the lightest color. The nice thing about the tri-blend markers is that it's 3 shades in one marker. So if you're like me and you're not the greatest colorist, then it makes it pretty foolproof. On items like Snowman, where they're supposed to be white, or like Santa's beard, I like to add the lightest color of ice gray. And then here I'm blending it out with the Colorless blender. So it makes it just kind of like a shadow. Now here's where I'm going to mix the greens. I've got the darkest of the Alpine green here, and then realize that's actually a little bit lighter than the dark of the Jade. So here's the Jade green shades. That was darker, so now I'm going back over it with the dark end of the Alpine and then the light end of the Jade, just to give that a little bit of a blend. And I'm going to alternate that with the reds. So here I'm accidentally using the lightest shade of the dark red shades here, and I'm realizing it now. So I'm going to go back and go over it with the dark end of the dark red shades and then the light end of the dark red shades. And then what Snowman is complete without some shine. So this is the clear shimmer brush, and I'm just very quickly brushing it on so that he sparkles and shines. And it's really hard to catch this shine. I think you can kind of see it off on my scrap paper, but I'll try to show it at the end as well. So I'm just going to cut him out with the coordinating die, and then I decided to pop him up on some thin 3D foam tape. I do like the thin 3D foam tape because it's not quite as thick as regular foam tape, so it doesn't create quite as much dimension, but still creates a little bit. And I think he looks really cute tucked there underneath that little flower. I found these little berry sprigs off on the side of my desk that I have out for my December daily, and I thought that they would be cute kind of tucked in around my floral clusters. So I'm cutting off all of the little berry clusters, and then I'm just going to very carefully glue them around my little flower clusters here and there, just to add a little bit of gold accent. And I think that's going to go nicely with the gold centers that I'm going to add to these poinsettias. My tweezers are my best friend for doing something like this, as well as my Barely Art glue that has the really skinny tip to get just the tiniest dab of glue. I love the Barely Art glue. I know I've mentioned it before, but I do always list that in my supplies, and I have all the supplies listed in the description below if you're interested in any of these items. Some of them are retired, but if they are retired, I'll just note that on there. So if you want to search them out and try to find them on eBay or something, then you can. I'm using these gold glitter gems from Pink Fresh Studio to add in the center of my poinsettias. What I like about these is that they do not have stick on the back, which can be good and bad. In this case, it's good because I can lay them all out and decide what, configuration I like. And I like that there are lots of different sizes. There's like 4 or 5 different sizes, from pretty big to really tiny. So I'm using my wax pickup tool to get those all in place. I love this pickup tool because when it starts losing its stick, you just sharpen it with a regular pencil sharpener. I often get questions about that little plastic container that my small embellishments are in that I use for these, and it is from Amazon. I'll have that linked below as well. Once I have all of the gems in place, I'll just pick one up one by one and put just the tiniest little dot of glue. Again, this Barely Art glue coming in to save the day, and I will just do that for all of the poinsettias. For my journaling, I was originally thinking I would go around the top of the page, but then I decided to use these journal strip stickers. Because I have so much dark pattern on the bottom of my layout, I thought that these white strips would help to bring that white down that's at the top of the page, bring that down to the bottom, and help to break up all of that dark pattern. I love these journal strip stickers because they are stickers. They are a cardstock sticker, so they're nice and thick, but you can just write and keep writing and don't have to worry about the size of your strips. And then what I like to do is kind of lay it out like this and then just snip it where I decide to end it. So you can snip it wherever you want. You can make the strips as long as you want. I just love them. They're super easy. So here's a close-up of everything, and as always, I will have close-ups over on Instagram and Facebook. Those links are down below, along with all of the supplies that I used. If you're interested in the CDT's sketchbook that I used, I will have that linked down below as well. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you haven't already for lots of scrapbooking inspiration. Here's another video that I think you might enjoy, and I hope you have a wonderful day.